morning. Welcome to Design to Thrive. We're super excited that you're here. And oh my goodness, we've had a phenomenal time on this series, Excel and Thrive Through a Crisis. And so thank you so much for joining us tonight for this incredible broadcast where we are talking about Excel and Thrive Through a Crisis. And especially today, we are talking about resilience. Now, if you're new, we'll welcome you. Please like, subscribe, and share this broadcast. Our usual viewers, thank you so much for your continued support and partnership. Thank you so much. We appreciate it very well. Now, I'm Fungi. I'm your host. I'm a certified international professional coach, certified practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, timeline coaching, member of the Association for Professional Coaching, member of the European Community Neuro-Linguistic Practitioners, and the International Federation of Professional Coaches. I am a specialist in business coaching, executive coaching, leadership coaching, mindset coaching, life coaching, seven-figure coaching, success coaching, and a whole lot more. I'm the host and founder of Design to Thrive. I am also a CEO of Veracity Group and a director of Overflow Women's Ministry, an entrepreneur, a pastor, a health practitioner, and a whole lot more. I'm also a published author, a global speaker, an intercessor, a mother, a wife, as well as a great cook. Now, that's enough about me, but I just thought you would want to know who is speaking to you and who is giving you this information, what qualifies her to speak to you. So to access my services, coaching, mentorship programs, and events, or to just invest in yourself in quality support, quality coaching, and that's coming from me, facilitating you to get the results from health, wealth, and everything that you desire. For mentorship, where we'll show you the ropes, or having a tribe, a group of impact-driven people and influencers with the same desire, hopes, and dreams. Please do come onto my website, www.fungisamushonga.com. Now, Design to Thrive, this is our coaching program where we are teaching you and giving you free nuggets, of course, but we would want you to do more, because when it's free, you really don't appreciate it. But when you pay for it, you pay attention. Here, our heart is to ignite purpose, to release potential, awaken passion and dreams, impart destiny, and inspire possibilities. We believe that everybody has the infinite ability to grow, to achieve, to aspire, and become. And our motto is that we are designed to thrive as we become, thrive, and overflow. We have a whole lot of things that we can do with you, but our heart is for seeing people transform from ordinary people into impacting, influencing leaders, from changing from leaders into change agents, where we are going far beyond just practical tools, where we are delving into neuroscience and tapping into the power of the mind. This is about building new perspective, new paradigms, new mindsets, and understanding what it means to walk into destiny, live purposefully, and thrive in every dimension of our lives. It's time we break agreement with fear, with failure, with complacency, stagnation, and all things contrary to our progress and destiny. We want to become what we were really designed to be, where we are embracing everything with fullness, wholeness, confidence, and we are ready to advance to the next level. So excelling through a crisis. Now, this is a 7-part series that we have started over the past few couple of months, really, and we are talking about excelling through a crisis. Now, when we began, we asked the question, is your vision of becoming stronger during a crisis just an empty hope? And so here we have been laying a game plan that can help you execute, and it can help you get to where you want to be. Now, the question is not whether we would survive the crisis, but is rather how then do we excel? And this is why we have this Excel and Thrive, and we are becoming stronger coming out of this. Now, we say the linchpin is not to operate in a crisis mode, but rather implement meaningful steps, game plans, and strategies. That challenge all preconceived notion and we step outside of comfort boundaries, so we pivot and thrive, minimizing any negative impact and disruption to our lives. Just like right now, we've had this global pandemic and it's brought a whole lot of different things. Pain, hurt, stagnation, and a whole lot of people have been crippled by a whole lot of things that have happened. And family was no exception. Livelihood was no exception. Businesses were no exception. But this reminds us that nothing is permanent. So all the crisis is temporary and not permanent at all. So we must seek solutions, and we must bear that in mind, that no permanent solution should be made for the temporary seasons that we face. So we talked about the impact of the crisis, and now one thing I know is we all have an option regarding this chapter of our lives and season of our lives. We can either sit back, die, rise up, and thrive. So we have got to change, adopt, adjust, and evolve. Right on or right ahead of the wave. All right. So we talked about expecting change in one of the weeks, and we talked about transforming our experience, where we talked about retooling, reskilling, and rebuilding. We also talked about managing our resources well. We talked about determining what we need. Okay. Then we talked about raising our faith, right? We said our faith is only as strong as the test it survives. Then the last bit, we talked about breaking tradition, where we are coming out of the box, we are coming out of the mold, we are doing all sorts of things, we are going beyond. And so that's where it brought us to resilience, right? So that's exactly where we are going to start today. And the part 7 will be the part where we're going to be talking about the values. So today we are going right in and delving in and to resilience. Now, I hope you've got a pen and paper ready, and we're going to learn what it is and how it is beneficial. Now, I'll tell you this one thing. Resilience is one of those key qualities that are so important for our day today. They are so key for us to be able to progress. It could be in business, it could be in spiritual realm, it could be in physical, it could be in mental well-being, and everything else. We've got to be able to pivot. We've got to be able to evolve. Now, we're going to talk about this, the resilience and what it is. Now, resilience itself is a psychological term, and all what it means is the capacity to resist, to absorb, and recover after a crisis or a trauma, or the ability to successfully adapt to adversity or change. In other words, we are advancing despite the adversity. So from a community's point or perspective, it is not merely a personal or individual effort to bounce back, after a tragic situation, but we together have a duty to rise and emerge. So it is ours together. Together we rise and emerge. So resilience then is best understood in the context of the virtue of fortitude, a gift that gives us our courage and strength and enables us to overcome fear. Resilience is then necessary to overcome our divisions without losing our identity. Now, I've defined what it is, so we're saying advancing despite adversity. So that capacity to be able to resist, to absorb, to recover, right? So all those things are at play. It's not just resisting, it's not just absorbing, it's not just the recovery, but it's all those things to do so after. It could be this pandemic, it could be a crisis, it could be a bereavement, it could be a job loss, it could be a marriage breakup, whatever it is. Resilience, we need it. So we are able to advance despite the adversity. Now, we're not denying the adversity. We are not undermining the effect of the adversity. We know it's there. But what we are just saying is the power in our mind. Remember, we have the infinite ability to grow, to aspire, to become, and to achieve, right? So we've got that power in our mind. The value that we give that adversity determines the frustration. So that's all what stress is. The meaning we give to that experience, the meaning we give to that adversity. What does it really mean to me? That what that's what causes the pain. That's what causes the frustration, right? But if you look at it and say, yes, this has happened, I'm not diminishing the impact of it, but I'm going to take the good bits and I'm going to pivot and thrive. I'm going to pivot and go ahead. I am advancing despite it. Right. So we are growing, and so we are understanding that virtue of fortitude, that courage and strength to keep going, to overcome that obstacle. Then we see then now resilience, not just as a personal weapon or a personal quality, but it's something that we effectively do together. And it also helps us overcome our divisions without necessarily losing the self-identity, right? So what it is why we're talking about this is we don't want to merely survive. Remember, it's survive, it's excel and thrive. We didn't put survive and thrive. We said excel and thrive through a crisis. So we don't want to merely survive this crisis or anyone that comes in the future, right? But we want to thrive, and we want to be transformed into the women, into the men, into the girls and boys who are capable of being the difference for others and in spite of the adversity. So whether you can be said to be resilient or not, it relies not on any particular personality test, but on the way life unfolds. So now, if you're lucky enough to never experience any sort of adversity, you won't know how resilient you are. But it is only when you've gone through situations that you actually realize how resilient you are, or others can see how resilient you are. So it's only by going through that we actually grow through in our resilience. Now, however, as we are coming out of this pandemic, we are coming out of a global crisis. So if anybody had never really experienced a personal crisis, this is a crisis that perhaps most of us can relate to. So while it is not the only crisis, I will just refer to it because everybody can relate. Now, this is a global crisis, and we know too well that our resilience can be tested on a daily basis. Now, we've gone through this a year of lockdowns and stayaways and being away from family and things like that. It was tested every single day. It could be from personal relationship, it could be from interactions, it could be from school, it could be from work, and things like that. We found ourselves working with remote teams. We found ourselves doing school online and things like that. We found ourselves, being distant from everybody else, where we cannot show personal affection to anybody who's outside your household, right? So, so the challenges that we faced, challenges that we face ensure that our resilience or lack thereof will be tested. Now, the question is, in all of this, do you feel like caving in, or are you able to continue and conquer? Now, we've asked this question before. Now, many people are resilient. However, their levels of resilience can dip when put under extreme pressure. Now, luckily, this resilience that we're talking about is only a set of skills that can be learned and can also be developed. Once you've learned them, you can also develop these skills. It means that we can build our resilience levels so that even in the most challenging of our circumstances that we might face, we can deal with the stress and recover quickly. Remember, we are resisting, we are absorbing, and we are recovering, right? A great deal of research has taken place around the topic of resilience, and many studies have identified that resilient people demonstrate some of the keys that I will talk about today. Now, if we want to be resilient, we'll look at these skills. Let's explore these skills of the people who excel in it. And number one, they say resilient people are autonomous people. They have an internalized center of control. Now, people who are resilient believe that they themselves, not their circumstances, affect their achievements. Right? They know that they are orchestrators of their own fate. Now, autonomous people understand that they cannot change other people's behaviors. only their response to that behavior. So while I can't change somebody's behavior, but my response to that person's behavior is what I can change, right? And autonomous people are inner connected, and I'll explain that in a moment. Now, they are aware of their own thinking. What are we talking about when we're talking about inner connected? They are aware of their thinking, their senses, their emotions, and their needs. They know, am I in a powerful state? Am I in a primal state? Right? So we make ourselves more or less vulnerable by how we think and how we think about things. And George Bonanno talks about this. He's a professor of clinical psychology at Columbia University. He says we make ourselves more or less vulnerable by how we think about things, right? So people can be taught about these cognitive skills of regulating their own emotional response. And that's new mindset. Now, once you've learned that cognitive skills, it becomes a new mindset. It lasts over time. That's why we say we can learn these and then we can develop them, right? So the question then that we can ask is then, if there's a traumatic event, do you see that event as a traumatic event or as an opportunity to learn and grow? So you see, like what I was saying earlier on, the power you give to an experience, the meaning you give to an experience determines the trauma that you experience. So events are not then traumatic until we experience them as traumatic. That's what Professor George Bonanno says, right? We experience them as traumatic. It means the meaning that we've given to that experience is traumatic. And last time when I spoke about this, I said you can have two soldiers. One is coming from war. Both are coming from war. One has post-traumatic stress disorder and the other one is perfectly fine. It's not that they've not experienced the same experience, traumatic experience, but one has given it traumatic experience, and another one, yes, while it was fearful and scary and gory and everything else, they then in their mind did not give it the meaning of trauma. So while they experienced it, they did not experience it as trauma. So that means we can create or exaggerate stresses very easily in our own minds. This is why when other people say, oh, that's not racism, how can you say that? Because in that person's mind, they've experienced it as racism. They've experienced it as abuse. So it's the meaning that they've given it. So individually, we can create or exaggerate stresses very easily in our own minds. Now, that's the danger of the human condition. Now, we can worry, we can ruminate, we can blow up a minor event into an obsession and drive ourselves crazy. That's totally possible. But it's all in how we frame things. How we frame things, the meaning we give to things, right? The value we give an event equals the stress we experience, okay? So people can go to a wedding and one can say, wow, what an amazing wedding it was. The other will say, oh, it was boring. And it wasn't necessarily that it was boring, or it was nice, but it was the value. It could have been that they spent the day with their closest loved ones, or they ate their favorite food, or somebody was there and what was served, they're allergic to it, so they didn't actually get to eat, so they starved all day. So you see, the value we give an event equals the stress we experience. Now, to learn these skills, we need to identify where are they stemming from? Where are they coming from? So we can improve. So that was number one, where we're saying autonomy. Okay? Number two, realistic awareness of self. Now, one of the people that talks about this is actually a guru on emotional intelligence, and I love him. Daniel Goleman, I love his teachings. I listen to them all the time. He talks about this, you know. He identified self-awareness as being made up of emotional awareness. So accurate self-assessment and self-confidence, right? So self-awareness then is built up with these components: emotional awareness, accurate self-assessment, and then self-confidence. Now let's talk on self-awareness. Now mindfulness then is applied self-awareness, and actually my sister is one of mindfulness guru, shall we say, Fungi really. So mindfulness in itself is applied self-awareness. Now, self-awareness, what does that really mean? It simply means that you are able to tune in, for example, to what's my emotional state. What is my emotional state? So I can tune into that. Why am I feeling this way? In other words, it's all about knowing my emotions, my personal strengths and weaknesses, and having a strong sense of own worth. Right? Now, people that are self-aware are in touch with their core purpose and with their values. So this then enables them to make easy decisions and take actions as they know what brings them satisfaction, achievement, and enjoyment. So that's a real powerful tool. Number 3, we are talking about agility or adaptability, right? So resilient people, they bend rather than break, right? So you can bend them all the way. They will go all the way with the storm. They will go all the way, but they won't break, right? They change how they see a situation. So remember, we said the meaning we give an experience equals the stress that we experience, therefore, or the pleasure that we give, that we experience then. Okay, so when we are resilient, we change how we see a situation. So it's not just about black and white, but we are able to see many valuable alternatives. It's not about A, B, or C. There are so many alternatives that we can see. It means our worldview, our perspective is more enhanced. So we listen willingly to the ideas of others, and we accept those ideas, or perspectives, so we get the best outcomes. Now, it's not that we're just gullible, no, but we are listening and then we are assessing, okay, because we are trying to achieve the best outcomes, right? So we don't fixate on the way things are done, but we adapt easily and we change when required. Remember, we talked about the necessity of change in part 1 of this series. Now, repeat after me. My current situation is not my final destination. Well, we just had to say that affirmation, because when we experience crisis and trauma, sometimes we tend to let it define us, but we say the value that we give an experience determine the stress that we feel. So we just made that affirmation. My current situation is not my final destination. So whatever you are experiencing now, it does not define you, and it should not define you. Now we go to number 4. Resilient people are optimistic or positive. So optimism and positivity is number 4. Now, if we're talking about resilience, no, it's where we are talking about people that are realistically, they know that change is inevitable. Remember, we are agility, adaptability right there. So we know change is inevitable. So we have a positive outlook on what will happen, So we are able to reframe a situation. We've framed it, but because we know change is going to happen, we can reframe the situation so that it can look good for the future. Right? So if we fail, instead of saying I'm stupid or I'm rubbish or I'm a failure or I'm ABCD, instigating that inner critic to come out, instead we are able then to view events as external, or specific and unstable. And so we say to ourselves that, that was a challenging experience or unexpected situation, and it has taught me ABCD. So next time I'll be able to do ABCD. So we are looking at it from, remember, that perspective that we are expecting change. So optimism and positivity. Number 5, pragmatism and practicality, right? So now, if we are talking about resilient people, we don't ruminate on things that we can do nothing about, right? but we look to what we can influence and take practical steps towards completing or achieving a task or a goal, right? So we look at that and we see how can we then influence, and how then can we take practical steps towards this outcome that we are desiring. So, like tackling problems, taking desire and fun in finding solution, and things like that. We are action oriented, and we use many tools in, that, or resources that are around us to be resourceful, right? So we can use past knowledge, we can use past experience to find solution, and creativity, innovation. We are, all of that comes to play, right? And then number 6, social connectedness, right? So when we are resilient people build strong and positive relationships with people, and they are readily prepared to ask for help. When they're under pressure, they're not just going to say, oh, I'll deal with this, or pride not to ask, but they will ask for help, right? So ask for help. If you're going through depression, if you're going through pressure, if you're going through anxiety, you're going through a crisis, and it's a traumatic experience for you, ask for help. Seek for help. There are health practitioners, mental well-being people that are out there, spiritual people, pastors, counselors that are there, therapists. Ask for help when you're under pressure. And we also have to understand the importance of connecting with others. So no man is an island. We need others around us. We need a tribe. So we should then be happily to engage with people who bring us happiness, right? So normally when we are under pressure with deadlines or expectations, it could be from family, it could be from work, it could be from teachers, the last thing we want to do, is not ask for help. We must ask for help. And naturally sometimes people don't want to ask for help, but we must ask for help. So many people perceive that as a sign of weakness. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It shows inner strength to know when you need help the most and to ask for it. It takes boldness. It takes, determination, right? Now we go on to the next point, self-compassion. As we nurture resilience, we must be able to demonstrate self-compassion, to extend compassion to ourselves in instances of either perceived inadequacies or failure or general suffering, right? So there was a study that was done at the University of Pennsylvania, psychologist Martin Selman. He successfully trained people to change their inner dialogue from self-critical to realistic, practical and compassionate, and the result is that people are more psychologically successful and less prone to stress and depression. So we must have that inner dialogue, where we are turning from that critic, but to self-compassion, where we are, with self-critic to self-compassion. It's realistic, it's practical, it's compassionate, and we find that we psychologically we excel. This is why we say resilience is a key quality that we need, whether it's for personal, professional, spiritual, or psychological well-being. You will find that you have greater psychological well-being, and you're less prone to stress and depression if you are self-compassionate. So then what then is self-compassion? It's all about treating yourself as you would do your best friend, recognizing and supporting your very personal needs. Now, that is a big topic for another day. I'm not going to delve much into it. So when we are talking about, a self-compassionate person, so if a self-compassionate person needs time alone or increased exercise, a spa or evenings out with friends, now they book that into their diary, and with the same importance as a meeting, they will make time for that. So you really need to make time. It's for self-care, right? Now, how then can that information help us to be more resilient? So in knowing what we need to be, we can then work at developing those skills for ourselves. Now, this is not for anybody else, it's for you. Remember, we're saying excel and thrive through a crisis. It is you personally, your hopes of becoming stronger after the crisis. It's knowing that we need to be resilient. Then we can work at developing those skills for ourselves. Now, I want you to then take time to reflect at some of these skills that we've shared today. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of those skills. Where your scores are low, you can build and practice those abilities. Now, you can learn from them through reading, reflection, or through conversation with trusted people, trusted colleagues, trusted friends, or even your coach, such as I. It is worthwhile developing these keys as resilient people, right? So we get less stressed, we become more psychologically well, and we have more energy, we have increased concentration and focus, and a greater ability to deal with issues. We are not hiding, but we know that once we've experienced it and we've overcome it, another one comes. We simply survive and we not simply survive, but excel, right? So we make learning and practicing these skills a core part of our development and well-being every single day. So nobody is perfect at these things, but what we experience today might be different tomorrow, or we might experience it again and then it takes it down. How come it's happened again? So we must keep and continue to practice those skills. So we must know that deep inside of you, you are resilient, you are brave, and so much stronger, more powerful than your fears. So that concludes our part 6 of Excel and Thrive. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll leave you with an invitation. This Sunday, please do join us. We have on Sunday at 11 in the morning, we have worship with Millennium Harvest Church, and at 11 in the morning BST. Please do join us for that. And again on Tuesday, the 25th of May, it's Africa Day, and it is our honor and privilege to collaborate and come together with Raleigh Vineyard Millennium Harvest Church alongside Raleigh Vineyard in Essex, where we would invite you to join us to celebrate Africa Day. The Zoom ID will be put across, or the flyer will be put across the screen. Celebrate with us as we do that, and the theme will be based on art, culture, and heritage, and we'll talk about things that are affecting us as people of African heritage, things that are impacting us and influencing us, and how the church can participate in integration. So we have Hartness Samushonga, our senior pastor at Millennium Harvest, who will be speaking, Millennium Harvest Church in Hull, and Paul Takawira from Vineyard Church in Raleigh in Essex will be our main contributors. We also have Peter W., who will be also facilitating the group discussions and Q&A. We also have praise and worship led by the worship teams at Millennium Harvest Church. Do make time on Tuesday, the 25th of May at 8 p.m. BST. The Zoom ID is 8244-765-3972. I'll repeat, 8244-765-3972, and the passcode is Africa, all in lowercase. You don't want to miss that. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on our part 7 of Designed to Thrive, where we'll be talking about values, belief system, and our results. Thank you.